Good morning, everyone. So today in this class, we are going to see about the concept of polymorphism, right? So here, so it is a Greek language word. It is a Greek language word, and polymorphism is a combination of two words, poly plus morphism, right? So here in English, poly means many, and morphism means forms. So if anything exists in more than one form, then we can say it as a polymorphism. For example, let us consider the things in C programming language. If I have declared three variables int a comma b comma c, right, and then I have written the statement c equal to a plus b, right. Now this plus is, right, this plus is used for something called as integer addition. So this plus is used for integer addition. So we are using this plus symbol for addition of two variables which are of integer types, right? Which are of integer types. Now, what happens if we define the same three variables as float variables? So even though if we write these three variables as float variables, we are going to use the same plus symbol, and in this case also the same plus symbol is acting for floating point addition. So previously we have used this plus symbol for integer addition. Now we are using this plus symbol for floating point addition. And at the same time, if we define it as a string, so unfortunately string data type is not there in C, but it is present in C++ and Java. So if we declare string a comma b comma c, and if we write c equal to a plus b, then what is going to be happen in the sense, for example, if a is having the string called CSC and b is having the string called ECE, right? If we add both the strings, then CSC, then the output will be CSC and ECE will be stored inside the variable C. So here the first string is concatenated with the second string. Here adding in the sense concatenating. So the second string will be joined after the first string if we use this plus symbol in between the two string variables. So the same plus symbol is used for integer addition. The same plus symbol is used for floating point addition, and the same plus symbol is used for string concatenation, right? String concatenation. So we can say that this plus is existed in more than one form, right? The plus is acting in more than one form. So we can call it as a polymorphism. So this is the general example, right? This is the general example how we can say about polymorphism. So if one thing exists in more than one form, right? If one thing exists in more than one form, then it is called as polymorphism. For example, consider yourself. So you may be a son or daughter in your home, and at the same time you are a student in the college. So the same thing. So you are not changing. Your name is not changing. Your height is not changing. Your color is not changing. But you are acting as a student in the college, and at the same time you are a son or daughter in our home. So you are existing in more than one form. Then we can say the concept as polymorphism. So here in Java programming language, polymorphism is divided into two types. So polymorphism is divided into two types. The first one is static polymorphism, and the second one is dynamic polymorphism. So static polymorphism and dynamic polymorphism. So here there is some other names for the static and dynamic polymorphism. So static polymorphism can also be called as, right? Static polymorphism can also be called as compile time polymorphism, and at the same time, dynamic polymorphism can be called as runtime polymorphism. So these are the two names for polymorphism, right? So the example, right? The example for compile time polymorphism is method overloading, right? Method overloading, and the example for dynamic polymorphism is method overriding. So remember these two names, method overloading and method overriding, right? So here, let us see what is method overloading and what is method overriding, right? So let us start the things with method overloading. Method overloading, right? So the 3 points under method overloading is that we need to have a, right, remember these 3 points. We need to have a same class, right? Same program, or we can say same program, and then same class, and then same method name, and different parameter profile, right? So let us write the things in the braces. Same program, right? And then same class, and then same method name, and then different parameter profile. So remember these names. So with these 4 names only, we are going to do one program, and which is overloading the method. So see here, so different parameter profile in the sense, right? Different parameter profile in the sense, there may be difference in terms of type of parameters or number of parameters, right? Number of parameters, and then order of parameters. So if there is difference in terms of either type of parameters or number of parameters or order of parameters, then we can say that we are maintaining this DPP, that is different parameter profile, right? 424, right? See here. So if we show the difference in terms of type of parameters or number of parameters or order of parameters, then we can say that we are maintaining different parameter profile. So what we have to do here is, we need to write a single program. In that program, we need to do something in the same class only. And in that same class, we have to maintain same method name for 2 or more number of methods. In that same method name, we have to maintain different parameter profile. So either we have to show difference in terms of type or number or order of parameters, right? So this is how we generally overload the methods in Java programming. So let us see the things in by using a program, right? So for doing these Java programs, I am going to consider this Edit Plus software. So see here, let us keep the things side by side. So this is what we have discussed so far, right? This is what we have discussed so far. And on the left side, we can see the right. So see here. So what we have to do here is the first step is we need to do something in the same program. So here, and then we are doing this in the same program. That's not a problem. And then what we have to do here is we have to mention the same class. So let us define a class, for example, class A, right? So inside this class, right, inside this class, we can write methods where the both the methods should be of same method name. For example, if I have declared something called as void m, right? If I have declared something called as void m, and the second method will also be with the same name, right? So see here, inside the same program, right? Inside the same program, inside the same class. So both the methods m and m are lies in the same class A, and where we should have same method name. So the name of the first method is m, and the name of the second method is also m. So the first three conditions got satisfied, same program, same class, and same method name. Now what we have to do here is we need to maintain different parameter profile. So let us see how we can maintain different parameter profile. In the sense, as we discussed earlier, we should maintain type or number, or we should maintain difference in terms of order of parameters, right? So see here, so parameters are the things which are defined with the within these braces. So let us consider is having an int a. So if this particular method is executed, it is going to print, right? It is going to print ECE on the output screen, ECE on the output screen. At the same time, if the second method got executed, it is going to print CSC on the output screen. So the first method is going to print ECE, and the second method is going to print CSC on the output screen. Where the names of the method is same, where both the methods are of m, name with the name m, but there is some difference in terms of number of parameters. So here the second method m is having zero number of parameters. So it is having zero number of parameters, where the first method m is having one parameter. So here the difference between these two methods lies in number of parameters, right? So now what we have to do here is, so inside this inside this one, define the main method of Java, public static void main string args, right? So within this main method, so as we discussed earlier, right? As we discussed earlier in the initial sessions, that this main method is having the static keyword, so this will be executed directly. But there is no static keyword in front of this void m of int a and void m. So if we want to execute both the methods, we need to bring both these methods into the RAM, right? So we have discussed in the previous sessions that there will be one block of memory which is reserved for static keyword. So the first Java compiler will searches for the static keyword. If it found the static keyword, it will transpose all the data within that static keyword into certain memory. And the things which do not have the static keyword needs to be bring into the RAM in order to execute them. So we generally create some memory, and this memory we call this memory as an object. So if there is something called a static keyword in front of a variable or a method, that variable and method will be directly brought into the main memory by the Java compiler. If the things do not have the static keyword in front of a variable or a method, those things need to be bring into the RAM. So the process of bringing non-statical variables and non-statical methods is called as creating an object. So by creating an object, we can bring the non-statical variables and non-statical methods of a class into the RAM. So see here, if I want to bring this void m of int a and void m into the RAM, what I have to do here is I need to create an object of class A. So a space obj equal to new a. So this is the process of creating an object. Class name, right? Class name space object name. We can have any object name other than keywords, and then new and class name. Now what will happen is inside this static keyword. So here there is some static keyword. So the static keyword is for this block. So the statements which are in between these two braces, right? The statements which are in between these two braces are directly moved into the RAM. And because it is a main method, compiler starts executing each and every statement one by one. So inside the RAM, right? Inside the RAM, the first statement is that, right? The first statement is that a space obj equal to new a. So now what will the compiler will do is, the compiler will see what are the things which do not have static keyword in front of them inside class A, right? Inside class A, and bring all of them to a memory, right? See here, whenever this statement is executed, so there is some keyword called as new keyword. Whenever the new keyword is encountered by the Java compiler, it is going to create some memory location, and the name of the memory location will be the object name. So here we have given obj. So whenever the new keyword is encountered, it will create some memory, and the name of the memory will be obj, right? The name of the memory will be obj. So in obj, all the non-statical variables and non-statical methods of this class A will be transferred. So here, if you observe the entire program, there is no static keyword in front of void m of int a, and there is no static keyword in front of void m, but there is some static keyword in front of main. So other than this main function, right? Other than this main function, the entire remaining things will be moved into obj. Okay. So if you want to execute anything which was present in this obj, we need to call it with something called as obj dot. So see here, I have just brought all the non-statical variables and non-statical methods of class A into the RAM, and those things are placed in obj. So now if inside obj we have this void m of int a, inside this obj we have void m. So if I want to execute the method m, I can simply call obj.m, right? So now the method m which was present in obj will get executed. So if the method m is getting executed, CSC will be printed on the output screen. Now what I want to do if I want to print ECE on the output screen? Simple thing is that if I want to print ECE, then I have to execute this method. If you observe this method, it is of same name m, but for that m, we need to pass an integer value. So simply calling obj.m is going to execute a method m which do not take any parameters. If you want to execute the first method, we need to pass a parameter that is obj dot any integer value. So we can pass 1, we can pass -1, or we can pass 10, or we can pass 50, or anything. So if I call obj dot m of 10, so a method m will get executed where which method is going to take an integer parameter. Now, for the second statement, right? For the second statement, the first method is going to be executed. So here, for this one, CSC will be the first line of the output, and then ECE will be the second line of output. See here, whether we satisfied all the conditions of the method overloading or not. So we are in the same program, we are in the same class, we are with the same method name where the names of both the methods are m. And the fourth condition is that we need to maintain different parameter profile, that is type of parameters or order of parameters or number of parameters. Right? So in this program, we have maintained the difference in terms of number of parameters. The first method m is having 1 parameter, and the second method m is having 2 parameters. Right? So let us save the code first, where the main method was located in class A. So we can save this program as a.java. Right? We can save that program as a.java. After saving the program, compile the program. So it is compiled successfully. And then if I run the program, ma 411 evaru 411 evarumma? Now, if I run the program, so see here, as we discussed earlier, CSC followed by ECE will be printed on the output screen. Now, let us see how we can show the difference in terms of type of parameters. So here, if I want to show the difference in terms of type of parameters, I can simply, if I simply mention int a, then it states that we are not maintaining different parameter profile. So here we have 1 parameter, and here also we have 1 parameter. So there is no difference in terms of number of parameters. And then let us check the type of parameters. Here the type of parameter is integer, and here also the type of parameter is integer. So there is no difference in terms of type of parameters. So what we have to do here is, instead of maintaining it as int a, if we define it as float a, then here the first method is having 1 parameter and the second method is also having 1 parameter. The first method parameter name is int and the second method parameter name is float. So the type of the parameter is integer and the type of the parameter is float. So here we are showing some difference in terms of type of parameters. So now If we want to execute this method m of int a, we have to pass obj.m of some value. And if we want to execute the method m of float a, we have to pass some floating point value. That is, instead of 1, 2, we have to pass 1 point something or 2 point something, etc. Right? So see here, if I want to print ECE in the first line of the output, I can simply pass obj.m of some integer value. If I want to execute the second method, what I have to do here is I need to pass one floating point value. For example, 2.5. So here in Java, floating point data type and double data type are considered as double data type. So floating point data type and double data type both are considered as double data type. So in order to tell the compiler, for example, if we pass 10.50 or if we pass 1.5, everything will be considered as a double data type. So in order to tell that particular value belongs to the floating point data type, we need to append small f at the end. So here 2.5 f means we are giving a floating point value. If we don't maintain this f at the end, this 2.5 will be considered as double data type by the Java compiler. So in order to intimate the Java compiler that we are going to give a floating point value, we need to append f at the end of the value, right? So the first statement is going to execute this void m of int a, and the second statement is going to execute void m of float a. See here, let us see what will happen step by step. So in every programming language, the execution will start with the main method. And for this main method in Java, we have the static keyword. Whenever the compiler says the static keyword, immediately it is going to create a memory. Inside that memory, it is going to move all the body of this main method into this memory, into the RAM, and it will start executing because it is inside the main method. So it will execute each and every statement one by one. If it executes the first statement, a space obj equal to new a, whenever the compiler sees this new keyword, it is going to create one more memory, right? It is going to create one more memory, and the name of the memory is obj because we have given a space obj, and this obj is created for class a. So inside the class A, Java compiler will look for non-statical variables and methods, and it will bring all the non-statical variables and methods into this obj. So we have only two non-statical methods, that is void m of int a and void m of float a. So both the methods will be moved into the space obj. Now after executing this line, compiler will start executing obj.m. So compiler will look at the method m, which is going to take one integer value which was located in obj. So it will execute the method m of int a, and then it will execute the method m of float a. So this is what will happen inside the memory, right? And then let us see how we can show the difference in terms of order of parameters. So we will see the difference in terms of order of parameters in the next class. And if you have any doubts regarding today's session, you can raise the hand. I will unmute you so you can ask the doubts in today's session. If anybody is having the doubts, please raise your hand. Please raise your hand again. ఓకే
సార్ ఇప్పుడు అక్కడ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ మెయిన్ లో పారామీటర్స్ డిఫైన్ చేయబోతే కంపైల్ అవుతుంది సార్ ప్రోగ్రామ్.
ఆబ్జెక్ట్ ఒకసారి
ఇక్కడ
చెప్పు, అర్థం కాలేదు.
పారామీటర్స్ డిఫైన్ చేశారు కదా సార్.
మా వాయిస్ కట్ అవుతుందమ్మా కొంచెం పెద్దగా.
ఓబీజే లో పారామీటర్స్ డిఫైన్ చేశారు కదా సార్.
అవును 10 2.5f అని డిఫైన్ చేసాం.
అది డిఫైన్ చేయకపోతే ఇప్పుడు అవుట్పుట్ రాదా సార్ మనకి?
అవుట్పుట్ రాదుగా, ఎందుకంటే ఇక్కడ ఏదన్నా సపోజ్ ఇక్కడ ఇంట్ ఏ లేకుండా ఉందనుకో, ఓకేనా, ఇంట్ ఏ లేకపోతే ఆ మెథడ్ అనేది ఏ పారామీటర్ ఇవ్వకపోయినా సరే ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అయిపోతుంది. ఎప్పుడైతే నువ్వు ఇంట్ ఏ అని రాసావో ఒక ఇంటీజర్ వాల్యూ పారామీటర్ ఇస్తేనే మెథడ్ ఏం ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతుంది. ఇది ఉందనుకో, ఇది ఫ్లోటింగ్ పాయింట్ వాల్యూ ఇస్తేనే ఈ మెథడ్ ఏం ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతుంది. సో అవి ఇవ్వకుండా అవి ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవ్వవు. సో చెక్ చేయి కావాలంటే. సో ఓబీజే డాట్ ఎం అని ఇచ్చావు, ఓకేనా, ఎం అని ఇచ్చేసి ఈ ప్రోగ్రామ్ ని కంపైల్ చేసావు. సో కంపైల్ చేస్తే ఏమంటుందో చూడు, నో సూటబుల్ మెథడ్ ఫౌండ్ ఫర్ నో ఆర్గ్యుమెంట్స్, అంటే నో పారామీటర్స్ అని. ఆర్గ్యుమెంట్స్ అంటే పారామీటర్స్ అని. అంటే నీ ప్రోగ్రామ్ లో నువ్వు ఒక మెథడ్ ని కాల్ చేస్తున్నావు, జీరో అంటే ఏ పారామీటర్స్ లేనటువంటి మెథడ్ ని కాల్ చేస్తున్నావు, అటువంటి ఏ పారామీటర్స్ లేనటువంటి మెథడ్ నీ ప్రోగ్రామ్ లో లేదు కాబట్టి ఈ స్టేట్మెంట్ ని నేను ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ చేయలేను అని చెప్పేసి కంపైల్ టైం ఎర్రర్ ఇస్తుంది. ఓకేనా?
ఓకే సార్, అర్థమైంది సార్.
ఓకే రైట్. సో ఎలాగో టైం కూడా అయిపోయింది. So we will meet in the next class. So in the next class, we will continue the method overloading followed by method overriding. And thank you everyone.